Hello again from the beautiful, beautiful, amazing, just absolutely amazing Smoky Mountains area. Not so amazing Gatlinburg area here in Tennessee. Oh my golly. It was actually a good thing. It was a good thing. My wife got sick yesterday. She got some horrible indigestion. Like horrible, nasty indigestion. It's so sad. It's so sad with my wife, right? So we go to a buffet. So not yesterday, but the night before. We go to a buffet, right? So we can eat. And the idea is we go to a buffet. She can get her little potato, and she can get her sweet potato, and she can get salad, while I get plates of meat. Right, I was already feeling kind of bad about that. It's like I'm putting down like this just yummy plate of meat, these yummy desserts, all this like really good food. It's like the Wolf Buffet or something. Surprisingly good. The floor is a little sticky. It doesn't give the best ambiance, but it's actually really good food, especially for the price point. So I have all this food, right? She's eating, you know, her rabbit food like she always eats. And then she comes home and she starts having indigestion that night. And then by the next day, we're out on a hike. And she just has this horrible, 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 nasty, burning indigestion from golly knows what, golly knows what. So we were out there and we did, I don't know, it was supposed to be an 8-mile hike, so it probably ended up being a 7-mile hike yesterday. And so she came back and she takes some Zantac and all that kind of stuff. And so today, we were going to do a long hike. We're going to do like an 11-mile hike, you know, go out there, get some good sweat going on. Well, I can't really... You kind of get sweat going on no matter what you do. You hike a mile here because, again, it's 110% humidity. Beautiful, but 110% humidity. But anyways, we're going to go out there and get some really good exercise on. But since she was feeling bad, since she had been feeling sick before, we decided to do a shorter hike. And so we went into an area of the park we hadn't been to, nor had we planned to go to until she got sick. And it was absolutely amazing. We went up to like the major pass here. So there's a major pass. And it was like all the fog and the cloud was like moving through this entire area. And it was like 15 minutes of, I don't know, it was like 15 minutes of driving and, I don't know, some kind of Game of Thrones scene or whatever. It's just these weird, like, funky trees. Because if you've seen the pictures, if you follow me on Instagram, if you want to see pictures of all the things we're doing in approximate real time, go to Instagram. Like all those kind of funky trees, those rhododendron trees and all that kind of stuff. Well, imagine like driving through and there's all kinds of fog going through it. Oh, it's absolutely amazing. We went down, did a little hike, and that was the thing. It was only like a little 4-mile hike. I felt kind of bad doing a 4-mile hike on our last day here. But then, once we actually saw the place, it was just absolutely amazing. So I do have to say Smoky Mountains is a great park to come to. Really, really cool, really nice. They've got short hikes, they got really long hikes. Absolutely beautiful. Again, it's not one of those places, like you go to the Grand Canyon and you know what you're seeing. You're seeing the Grand Canyon. Like you can see the Grand Canyon, I mean not well, but I suppose you can see it in an hour. You could come in on a tourist bus, you could see the Grand Canyon, and then you could leave. Again, that seems kind of sad. In my book, that seems kind of sad, but you can do it. But like here, you absolutely and utterly can't do it. But if you can go and see all the different places, it's really cool. I would definitely argue with if I was going to come to Smoky Mountains again, like a month. You could probably spend a month here. My wife and I were talking about it because again, with a national park, it's pretty big, which means the commute times to all these different areas are really long. So really, what we'd probably do is we'd probably spend like a week and a half here, so then a week and a half over in this area called the Townsend area, and then probably spend like a week and a half over on whatever the hell the other side of this place is. So easily spend like a month here and still not see everything. Basically a month here and you really feel like you will get a well-rounded experience. But really good place. But that is the thing, like if you're gonna come to the Smoky Mountains, like don't expect to come here for like a day. Like, if you come here for a day and you see like Cades Cove and Clingman Dome or whatever the hell it's called, Clingman's Dome. I mean, I guess it's something. Seems like a lot of driving for not much, to be honest with you. But it's really where what you get here is you really have to get on the trail. That's one of the funny things I found with these national parks. Is if you think the national park is too busy, you're like, oh, Eli, this national park is too busy. There's too many people here. Basically, all you have to do is if you can get a 1 mile back on any trail, everybody disappears. There's like almost nobody. Like almost nobody hikes like past a mile in most of these places. Like you go to Yellowstone, like Yellowstone is ridiculous because their trails are really good for like the first mile. And then you hit that 1.1 mile mark, and all of a sudden the trail like fucking disappears into like grassland because nobody hikes the trail enough for anybody to use it. Like literally, like if you go to Yellowstone, you have to understand how to do orienteering. And I'm not joking, and I'm not exaggerating. Like if you don't have a compass and you don't grasp how to do orienteering with a map, you're gonna be screwed in Yellowstone, because the fact of the matter is nobody goes any farther than 1 mile off the fucking road, and so you hit that 1.1 mile mark and that beautiful trail turns into frickin' weeds and grass and every other damn thing. But there, like Yellowstone and all that, it's not necessarily that big a deal, because I mean you can see the buffalo from the road, and you can see the water, all that stuff from the road. So if you only get a mile off the road, you're not really missing anything. The thing is to realize here in the Smoky Mountains is if you don't get 4 miles off the road, you're missing just an amazing amount of stuff. Again, like I said, we did Gregory Bald or whatever the hell it was called. And I mean, that was a scene I have never seen before in my life. So I've been traveling all my life, been backpacking all my life, but you go up to Gregory Bald and you're on the top of the mountain. Okay, whoopee crap, I've been on the top of a lot of mountains. But you get up there and it's an entire massive field of just wild azaleas. Just wild azalea bushes all blooming. I have never in my life seen anything close to that. And again, you can't drive there. You can't drive there. You can't walk 1 mile to it. It's 4 mile slog up a mountain to get there. So that is the thing. If you're going to come to Smoky Mountain National Park, that's why I laugh so much with the people with big bellies. Again, you know, hey, big belly people are people too. But that's what I just don't understand. It's like, again, like I say, if you have a big old belly and you go to Grand Canyon, fine, whatever. You get out of the tour bus, you go, look, Grand Canyon, and you get back on the tour bus. But like here, that's why I don't understand all the big belly people. They're like the big fucking kids. Oh my god, some of these kids are just like, holy shit. Were you the illegitimate kid of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Oh, but that's what I don't understand with some of these people here, is it's like I say, with Smoky Mountains, I mean, again, you get a mile off the road, and you haven't even begun to see what's really cool. So just one of those things to keep in mind if you're going to come to the area. Again, I would argue a week at the minimum to see this place. And that really, like, is the minimum. But there's a lot of cool stuff here. Oh, and so life keeps trucking along. Life too keeps trucking along. I don't know whether to be happy or to be sad right now, because of this whole Brexit mess. This whole Brexit. I still can't believe Brexit happened. Like, again, and here's the thing. If you are British or UKian or whatever the hell you people are now, I am not telling you how you should feel. If you are European, I am not telling you how you should feel. I am not telling any people on that side of the ocean how they should feel, what they should care about, so on and so forth. I am saying, from my personal opinion, as an American, I can't believe Brexit happened. Again, from a purely selfish standpoint, I cannot believe Brexit happened. If that is not like one of the biggest political disasters in quite a long time. And I am saying this as an American. Maybe as a Brit, you absolutely love it. Hey, good for you. I'm saying this as an American looking at Europe. That seems like a damn disaster, and it keeps just trucking along. But the good side is, again, there's always a silver lining. There's always a silver lining. Is whether or not I'm still liked over there when I go. I may be going to the UK next year, because for like the first time in my lifetime, like I do believe my 39-year lifetime, the British pound is on track to be at parity with the US dollar, which means going to the UK by the end of the year, because it's down to $1.32 to the pound, and so it's lost over 10%. So that's like 12%. The pound has lost 12% of value in like 4 days. And they say it's tracking so that the pound will be at parity, so equal to the US dollar by the end of 2016. So again, I'm not saying anything about what the British should believe, but as a United States citizen, I have to say it looks like going to the UK is going to be a nice value proposition. Because one of the things you have to understand with how money goes, I got confused about this, and I got burned when I spent a month in the UK before. So when I did my backpacking trip, I spent a month on the Brit Rail. I had the Brit Rail pass, and I had the Eurail pass. So I spent a month in the UK, going all over the UK with the Brit Rail pass, and then I went over to Europe, right? And the thing was, like when I went over there, it's one of those things when you don't quite understand the whole what's going on, right? And so when I went there, I knew it was $1.50 to the British pound. And I figured, okay, well, that's not too bad. So I figured if a Coke, let's say a Coca-Cola, a bottle of Coke, cost $1 here, and it was $1.50 to the British pound, then I figured a Coke would cost like 80 pence over there. No, a Coke would cost 1.5 pounds. So it was £1 50 pence over there. So basically, like when I went over there, there were a lot of things when I was in the UK that were literally a third more expensive than if I had purchased them here in the US. And the UK was by far much more expensive than anywhere I traveled in Europe. So like when you travel through Europe, obviously there's different economies, different countries, so some places are more or less expensive. So like it's like everywhere in the UK was here as far as expense was concerned. Like France was here and like Spain was here, you know what I'm saying? So the good news about Brexit for me as an American is we can probably go over there to the UK for a little while, because it's literally going to be like a third cheaper for us to go. So there we go. Again, you always got to look at the silver linings with stuff. You always got to look for the silver linings. But one of the things you may think about, if you are a tech professional or if you're a professional, you sell services or you sell products out to other countries, is the good thing is by the devaluing of the British pound. Basically the British pound just tanking. The thing is, it'll be less expensive to sell your products or services to other countries, right? Because again, salaries and rents and all of those kind of things basically stay the same, but now a US dollar can buy more British pounds, right? So so basically, you know, you sell a service. Let's say you sell a service for let's say £10, right? It's 10 British pounds. So you sell a web hosting service for 10 British pounds. So if I'm an American citizen, up till 4 days ago, it would cost me $15 US to buy that product. Well, you keep your price at the exact same amount, and by the end of the year, it will now cost me $10 US for what I was purchasing before. So this could be good from a trade balance perspective. You will be able to export and sell more stuff to foreign people. You know, that's what you can say to make yourself feel better at night, right? Again, you always got to look for the silver lining. You always got to figure out how you can try to make a few more dollars or whatever. Yeah. Here, wait a minute, I think I have to turn the AC off inside the RV. So let's go in the RV for a minute, and we'll turn the AC off, because the water is dripping, and that's annoying. But again, like I say, I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Brexit is a complete and utter fucking disaster. At least as far as I'm concerned. From the American standpoint, Brexit is a brutal, nasty, horrible, just vicious disaster. But, again, it has happened. I mean, that's one thing I want you folks to always understand when I'm talking to you. Is this, again, it's not about, it's not about what I agree with. It's not about what I like. It's not about what I support. But there are these things that just happen, right? I completely and utterly don't support Brexit. Especially as an American, I think Brexit is a horrible thing. Again, as an American. I'm not telling you what you should think. I'm saying as an American, as me, I think it's horrible. But it's happened. I can bitch about it, I can moan about it, I can scream about it, which, of course, I'm doing. But at the end of the day, it's happened. So the question is okay, now that it's happened, what do you do next? And that's where I'd say, if I was a Brit, I'd really be thinking about selling products or services overseas. And again, this is one reason why if you're a startup founder, you should really think fucking twice before you jump ship on the UK and go to Europe. Because if the euro maintains its value, but the British pound sinks, again, you may be able to sell your products and services from the UK to Europe or to the US or to these other places and actually be able to make more money off of it, if that makes sense. It is definitely something to think about. Again, it's not like, it's nothing I would suggest. It's not like I'd be like, hey, this is a good thing. But, you know, it is something to contemplate. Now, as far as the whole Brexit thing goes and the whole European thing goes, I will warn all the Europeans out there. I was talking about this yesterday, and some people think I was joking. Some people think I was being a smartass. But it really is true, just so everybody knows. Europeans, hi, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Are you doing good? Of course you're not. Of course you're not. Your entire fucking continent's doing whatever the hell it's doing. But here's the deal, right? For a long time, as long as I have been alive, see, Europeans have been able to play the arrogance card. See, it's true. Americans don't know about this card. Americans don't have this card. When we are born, we are not given the complete, full arrogance card. We're given the douchey card. They give us a couple of douchey cards, but they don't give us the arrogance card. Here's the thing. Europeans, when they are born, they are given a very special card called the arrogance card. And basically what that arrogance card states is that they can go to any other country, any other continent in the world, and act like arrogant bastards as far as other people are concerned. And other people just kind of got to accept it, right? Because that's the thing, is they're Europeans. So there's this whole thing, like Europe is the center of Western culture, and every other place is just some kind of backwater, right? And so they've had this arrogance card. And so me as an American, again, I have been traveling globally all of my life. I have traveled all of my life. I have dealt with Europeans all of my life. And again, I like most Europeans. If you're watching this, I like you. It's the other Europeans we're talking about, right? But that's the thing, is whenever, so many times, what I've always had to deal with Europeans is, again, this whole idea that Americans are some kind of uncouth, backwater hicks that barely deserve the time of day, and that they look down on us and right? And as I talked about yesterday, basically with Brexit, you have lost that card. That card has been revoked. So all of you Europeans out there, all of you Brits out there that had that arrogance card, it's gone. It is gone. You motherfuckers need to shut up as far as the arrogance thing is concerned. This whole thing, oh, look at how superior our culture is, and look at how inferior. Look at those Americans. Look at those Americans. Aren't they so quaint? It's over, right? Here's the deal, right? You know, with the whole European thing, right? I was born, Europe was supposed to be the middle of the center of Western culture and all that, so I accepted it. Europe then comes together, European Union, you got the Euro going on, it's like, wow, look, Europe's really got its act together. But I really have to tell you, as American, with the Greek financial crisis, with their whole refugee mess, with Russia doing whatever the hell Russia's doing on the borders, with all the infighting and the stupidity, and some areas in your continent have 25% unemployment, and youth unemployment up to 50%, and then you have Brexit on top of that? No more. No fucking more. I'm done with it. I am done to the center of my being with European arrogance. You are not that impressive. You are not that cool. We have been playing along because, well, what the hell, inertia? You know, we've been playing along for a while. At this point, it's over. Europe is a fucking circle jerk, goat screw mess. And for all of you folks being like, oh, well, you know, I wouldn't expect you, Eli, to be a fill-in-the-blank American. Bite me. I'm done with it. I'm truly and utterly done with it. Again, because I got some comments being like, oh yeah, like again, trying to talk down about the United States, or, oh, Eli, I wouldn't expect you to be XYZ American. Just shut up. Again, one American to a European, stop. Stop. It's over. And again, this is one thing to realize about how the world changes and about how little things happen, is I do have to say, as an American, we put Europe on a pedestal. We put the UK up on a pedestal. We put France up on a pedestal. We put all these European countries up on a pedestal. And the one thing, if you follow me for a long time, is I say a lot of things that other people really honestly feel. There's just no way in hell they would actually say that, because that would be so uncouth. And so let me tell you, as a speaker for probably a decent chunk of the United States, European arrogance is over. You fuckers are a mess. You are a mess. And this whole trying to put down the United States, yeah, you know, we're the last superpower. Here's the deal. I have to say, as an American, I am far more concerned about China and India than I am about Europe. Europe is a tourist destination, right? I knew somebody literally said Euro Disney. And we said Euro Disney, he meant Europe, right? So this whole thing, stop. I'm telling you, for, like I say, the younger generation, patience is done. Patience is done. If you fuckers can't pull your heads out of your asses and actually create something significant, it was I can't even quote what the Chinese politician said. They were talking about it. So, like, you know, there's this whole Pacific pivot in the United States, and there's whole thing about, you know, what is the U.S.'s responsibility in the Pacific and what's Australia's responsibility in the Pacific. And again, I mean, the quote, and then it came up, you know, what is the Europeans' responsibility in the Pacific? And I'm not gonna say the quote, because it would have to be perfect to make it right from the Chinese perspective. But, like, the Chinese politicians were not polite when they stated what Europe's role in the Pacific was. And it was basically along the lines, what would the Congo's role in the Pacific be? Right? So I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that as an American. Because, again, like I say, with the last one yesterday, I started getting all this, like I say, the European, it's just like, stop. It's over. It's over. Like I say, all of my life, I have accepted the European arrogance. I have accepted little Italians being, oh, yes, well, you know, you seem very nice, but I'm talking about Americans. Yeah. You know why you can blame us for so much? You know why you can blame us for so much? Because we do so much. Who cares about Italy? Who cares about Italy? Right? And in not too long, who the fuck's gonna care about the UK? It's not even gonna be the UK, right? It's gonna be England. England. Oh. And again, so you folks understand. I'm not saying this necessarily to berate the Europeans, like I said, this European arrogance thing. But it is sad. I mean, it is, we need, that's what I was going to talk about today, is the United States needs a counterbalance. The United States needs a strong ally that's also a strong counterbalance. Because that's a good thing with Europe, is Europe is a lot like us. Because we have a lot of European ancestry, obviously, but they're also different too. There are fundamental differences with how a lot of the European countries just see things. Social justice, but again, even that social justice thing, just stop. That's so funny with Europeans. Oh, look at social justice. Just stop. The only reason the Americans agree with you about social justice is because our social justice, or our problems with social justice, are on the 24-hour news cycle. Your country is so fucking insignificant, nobody knows about your issues with social justice. Again, you go through Europe, and you say the word Moroccan, and you see people's faces. You see what they have to say, right? Again, like I say, Europe is no, like, fucking wonderland as far as social justice and all that's concerned. The only difference is nobody cares. People care about Chinese human rights. People care about Indian human rights. People care about the United States human rights. Nobody really gives a damn about anything that happens in Europe, right? They're like, oh, look at that. Oh, but anyways, so I'm just pissed about all of it. Because I just can't believe you're Because you have Brexit, and now they're talking about a referendum for Frexit, for France to leave, and then you have Britain leave, and then you have France, and then you have Greece, and then you have all this, and it all just, get Europe. But anyways, and I'm sad for it, because that means we're basically losing a strong partner in a lot of things. Whether it's trade, military, NATO, all that kind of stuff. We're losing that. And I mean, it's just, yeah. Oh well. What are you gonna do? Close down the military bases, let them and Russia handle it. And again, that's the thing, like I say with this, is, again, I don't think Putin's nutty. I really don't. I just think Putin wants things that other countries would prefer he not have. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I mean, if you think about Putin, Vladimir Putin, right? You know, he was part of the KGB, and he was part of the USSR. And the USSR used to be an empire. I mean, it was the superpowers. It was the United States versus the USSR. And as far as a military confrontation was concerned, it was called mutually assured destruction. Like, literally the reason that we did not go to war with each other is because of mutually assured destruction. Basically, wiping out all human life on the planet. Right? They did all the war games. And all the war games went, all human life dead. And therefore, we did not go to war, at least directly, because, you know, nobody, no matter how crazy they are, wants all human life dead. But that's the thing. But so you have like Putin, and he's doing all this stuff. You know, he's grabbed back Crimea. He's got into Syria. He's got his nice little base there. There's talking about all this, you know, the Russian heritage or whatever, people of Russian heritage in those old Eastern Bloc countries. And I don't know, it's kind of like a Pacific pivot. I hope we stay the hell out. It's like, bring all our troops home, and let Europe settle it. Let Europe settle it. They had World War I. They had World War II. They had World War III. Just let them go. Just let them go. I'll go up to Canada for my vacation. Oh, but yeah. I'm frustrated as an American. Like I say, watching the whole European thing, as an American, again, like I say, it's like, oh, I'm not telling you folks what to do. I'm just saying as an American, it's very frustrating. We need a strong, coherent ally. The Europeans are just doing, I don't even know what it is. And that's the funny thing. That's one of the things I don't understand. It's a very interesting thing with how people can convince you they're powerful, even when they're not, even when they're incredibly weak. And like with the whole European arrogance thing, if you're an American, I want you to look at European arrogance thing. I want you to look at the comments that were on the last video, and probably a lot of the comments that will be on this video from Europeans talking about, you know, whatever. And what's really interesting, this is something to learn in life, is that basically when you're looking for dominance, when you're looking for manipulation, remember, with any relationship, it's a two-sided thing. So not only do I have to say that I'm strong, but I have to get you to admit that I'm strong. Right? And so that's the thing, like you see with a lot of the European folks from all these different countries, and they look down on the United States, oh, right? But you look at it, and these are incredibly weak countries. They're militarily weak, they're economically weak. I mean, they're just a fucking mess across the board, and they have been for a long time. But because they prance around as if their crap doesn't stink, and because Americans and other countries are willing to accept it, it's not worth willing to fight, then it gets to continue on with this whole idea, oh, we are the superior ones, and look how the United States is screwing things up. Right. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. Like I say, as far as like power, dominance, and manipulation and all that is concerned, is remember, just because you're weak doesn't mean you have to act weak. And a lot of times, the people that end up being admired or being looked up to are actually incredibly weak. And they have incredibly weak hands. They don't really have a whole hell of a lot. But because they present themselves as being strong, because they present themselves as being superior, you accept them being superior, and therefore, in fact, they are. Again, like I say, if you look at the United States and you look at that European mess, just fucking dog vomit over there, right? If you look at the United States, we have a strong economy with 5.5% or whatever unemployment for an entire country that's huge. We've got our issues. We have a military that can literally fight 2 full-fledged wars on 2 different fronts. We have, again, when you look at international companies, we have everything from Microsoft to Apple to Ford to Boeing, right? All this stuff. And yet, like I say, the European, they look down. Oh, yes, well, you have such stupid presidents. And it's like, I can say my president is stupid. I can say my president is stupid. Believe me, I can say my president is stupid. My buddies can say my president's stupid. But like I say, the European, right. But anyway, kind of it reminds me, like I say, with the whole European arrogance thing. So I dated a German girl, long time ago now. So back when I first lived in Seattle, I dated a German girl. And she was getting her master's degree in material sciences. So material sciences are the people that actually create the material, right? So an engineer would design this chair. A material scientist would develop the new form of nylon, right? So she was at the University of Washington University, UW, University of Washington. She was at UW as her final year, part of the project or whatever, and she was doing tests, and what I eloquently called nanobot glue, which she always emphasized it was not nanobot glue, but basically there were these components of nanobots. So nanobots are microscopic nanobots, robots, and so basically what they were looking at is essentially how to actually get like the nanobot parts to connect, right? And that's what she was playing with. That's what she was experimenting with, right? And so I talked with her. She was going to go back to Germany, and then she goes back. She's going back to Germany, and she's talking about whether or not she'll get her PhD. And I was surprised talking to her, because again, material science is a good career, but it's not really what she wanted to do in life. She absolutely and utterly really didn't want to do material science in life. And so I was surprised. I mean, I can understand getting your bachelor's degree and getting your master's degree in something that doesn't make you incredibly happy, but, pays the bills. But it's like, why are you going to go and get your PhD in material sciences if this really is not your passion, really is not your passion? And the thing was, back then, again, and this was not too long ago, this was the early 2000s, so Germany being all smug, you've only been able to be smug for a little while now. It was the early 2000s, and basically what she said was, at that time, there were no jobs in Germany. So all of her friends that were getting master's degree in material sciences, a very hard, I would argue, very valuable scientific discipline, could not get jobs. And so they were going to get their PhDs because they could stay on the government stipend system while they got their PhDs. So they were not getting their PhDs because they were passionate about material sciences. They were not getting their PhDs because they were brilliant about material sciences. They were not getting their PhDs because they wanted to change the world with material sciences. They wanted to get their PhDs because that was the only way to continue paying the rent, because the economy was so bad. And what was so funny about this, and this is what I love about European arrogance, so she would go and she would be dealing with her lab assistants. So as a master's person, whatever, she had her lab assistants, and so the lab assistants were there to do whatever the hell lab assistants do. And she would come back and she would start screaming about the lab assistants. I can't believe these lab assistants, right? Because they hadn't memorized the periodic table. And they weren't up to the standards that she was at the first year of whatever when she started her science program. And she talked about this quite a bit, and she was bashing on the poor little lab assistants for quite a while, until one of those days. Like I say, most of the time I try to smile. In real life, I try to smile. I try to say, yeah, whatever, it's all good. And there was just one of those days, I kind of got pissed off at hearing about lab assistants getting beat on. And I was like, yeah, but hey, you know the difference? You know the real difference between you and them? Or you know why they don't need to have all that knowledge? She's like, what's that? It's like, because they have jobs. Those stupid, naive, ignorant lab assistants that you keep complaining about have actual, real scientific jobs. You're gonna go back and get your PhD because in Germany there's not enough of an economy to hire you doing what you do. Yeah, that was a lonely night. But at a certain point, like I say, even if you're dating somebody, the European arrogance just gets to you at a certain point. You're just like, yeah, and you know what? with their pathetic little associate degrees that doesn't live up to your standards, and they have jobs. You're going to finish a master's degree, and on your economy, there's like nothing there. So anyways, it's one of those little thoughts about, I say, the arrogance, all guns, we all says, oh. Yeah, keep telling yourself that. Keep telling yourself that, because again, like I said, I'm like the canary in the coal mine. I am like the bright orange canary in the coal mine. And let me tell you, from an American standpoint, again, China matters. China matters. India matters. I say, you look at Europe, it's dog vomit. It's just a mess. Just an arrogant mess. But anyways, so the thing that I want to talk about today, and why I'm talking about this, and don't worry if you think I'm going to start going on a passion of Europe bashing, I'm not. I talked about this yesterday, and I'll talk about this whole idea of counterbalance today, and then tomorrow I'll go off and talk about hitting the $300 per month mark. Yay! But basically, like I say, why I'm so irritated with Europe just falling in on itself is because what a lot of people don't realize, especially globally, is that most Americans believe that the United States needs a strong counterbalance, right? So basically what we're talking about with a strong counterbalance is basically that the United States needs a strong partner that is willing to push back on policies, right? You know, if you're going to have an Iraq war, an Afghanistan war, or this or that or the other thing, the idea is, yes, we're your ally, but we're not going to let you do this. But we're not going to let you do this, right? And this is an important thing to have in life, especially in your professional life and especially in business and the rest of it, is the idea that you have somebody in your life that is very valuable to you, that has the ability to push back on your stupid ideas and force you not to do something, right? Because the biggest problem that we run into in this world is the things that really screw us up, the things that really cause us the most problems, really aren't people attacking us, really aren't people doing things to us. It's us making our own stupid decisions. We decide to take an incredibly stupid course of action, and then stupidity follows, right? And so if you have a good counterbalance, if you have somebody that's willing to push back on you, then it makes you really think if this is what you want to do in life, right? So again, if you're going to be married, again, being married to a good spouse that you're mostly eye to eye on is a good thing, right? Because the spouse acts as the counterbalance. You're not eye to eye, because you're eye to eye, they're not a counterbalance, because they're going to do everything. They're going to agree with you. Yep, we should do that, right? You want somebody that's just a little bit different, right? And so like if you're married, it's a good counterbalance, because if you go and you decide to do something, then they're there to push back and ask if that's really what you want to do and what the consequences are. So again, like I say, being a business owner, if I was going to invest, I don't know, if I was going to invest $20,000 into Fail Normal, my wife was like, look, if you invest $20,000 into Fail Normal for whatever camera equipment or whatever else, that means we can't do X, Y, or Z. Then you really have to sit there and you're like, that's true. If we put money here, that means money isn't going to go somewhere else. Or if she simply says, like, look, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend $20,000 on this. And she says, no. We already agreed we were going to spend the money over here. And then you push, right? And so this can be a very valuable thing, because it keeps you from spinning off and doing things very stupidly. Again, the biggest problem that I see with people nowadays in this whole startup world and this whole idea of, you know, the idea is valuable. There's this concept that the idea is valuable. And the big thing that I keep trying to remind folks is really, I mean, the idea is valuable in relation to the grind. Right? So basically, you're going to have an idea, you're going to have a concept. So I'm going to have the idea of sitting here and talking to a video camera. Now, that idea itself doesn't really have much value. What really has the value is me then sitting in front of this camera 5 days a week until I have 1,000+ videos, right? It's the grinding through. So the big problem that we run into in life is that we are going to be grinding. We are going to be moving towards some kind of goal. We're going to be moving towards some kind of objective. And so when we make the decision, right, the decision is actually a very, very small part of that. But the problem is if we make a bad decision, it can have really huge consequences as we go down the road. You know, if you decide to buy... you know, I don't know. If you decide to buy some kind of weird piece of equipment. So let's say you go out there, like if you're in the tech world, right? And you think, okay, I see that this particular computer, I can buy this particular computer and it costs 50% of what all these other computers can buy. Let's say Linux, right? Let's say Linux. You go out there and you look at it and Microsoft Windows costs $100 per license. Right, so that means every computer you buy with Windows on it is going to cost $100 more than a computer with Linux on it, because Linux is free. And you go out there and you look at Macs, and Macs are just incredibly expensive. So you say, your idea is, I'm going to save the company money, I'm going to save my business money or whatever by using Linux. Linux is free, therefore I'm going to use it. Well, the problem is you use Linux, you deploy Linux, you have all these things with Linux, and then you start running into weird things like compatibility issues. You run into weird things like who the hell is actually going to support Linux. You just run into all these kind of weird issues, and then you find out that if you had simply paid $50 per license for Windows, it would actually end up costing less money at the end of the day. And so what you want is you want a counterbalance. You want somebody that's willing to push back on you and say, what you're saying and what you're planning to do is not going to work out how you plan to do it. So if you're the tech guy and you're like, okay, I've decided I'm going to migrate everybody in my company to Linux. And then somebody will walk in and go, wait a minute, before you migrate them to Linux, you're just simply looking at the licensing cost. So you're going to save $10,000 by migrating over to Linux. Yes, I'm going to save $10,000 by migrating to Linux. No. You're going to save $10,000 of licensing cost to migrate to Linux. Yes, going to save $10,000. Right? Because what's the total cost of ownership going to be? Oh, well, what do you mean? Well, once you migrate everybody over to Linux, how many people use applications that there is no Linux version for? Right? And maybe it's 50%. Maybe it's 50% of the people use applications that there's no version of Linux for. So that means now you're going to have to buy or install or whatever some kind of virtual machine onto everybody's Linux box, or onto 50% of the people's Linux box, in order for them to be able to run Windows programs. So that's going to be time, that's going to be energy, it may even be licenses of Windows. And then you sit there and you're like, okay, well, how much does it cost? You know, what is one of the tech employees here worth? How much do they get paid per hour? It's like, well, they get paid $20 per hour, let's say, which is pretty normal. But if they get paid $20 per hour, you have to think about the insurance that also gets paid for them. You have to think about the additional taxes. You have to think about all the overhead. So really, if they get paid $20 an hour, that actually costs the company $25 to $30 per hour. So then, if it's $25 per hour, they've got to go around and they've got to work with all these computers. Then you start looking at labor costs. And what you find out at the end of the day with a lot of companies, that if you migrate the company over to Linux, the total cost of ownership is actually going to be much higher than the cost of simply buying the licenses. Right? And so what you need is the people to be able to push back on you. That will be able to talk to you from your perspective so that you don't make these tragically horrible decisions. And that's where, like, with Europe, and that's why it's important, like I say, with Europe, is because, again, Europeans are kind of like a spouse to the United States, right? Don't see eye to eye, we see off, right? I'd say, like, as far as the U.S. is concerned, the U.S. is here, you know, Canada and the U.S., they're pretty close. They're a little bit off. They're pretty close. And then Europe on the whole, like I say, it's rather similar. So if you have a nice, large European bloc that you can actually deal with as a bloc for trade partnerships, military treaties and all that kind of stuff. The thing is you can communicate back and forth, and we can push on one side, maybe make you a little more capitalistic, and you can push on the other side to make us a little more socialistic. You know, we can push on you to help try to do something about Syria, and you can push on us to not get in the middle of Iraq again, right? You know, there's this push and this pull where both sides have power in the relationship, and both sides are basically trying to get keep an even keel. So one side gets a little, and the other side gets a little, and one side gets a little, the other side gets a little, and we're all together in a nice, happy relationship. And that can be a very valuable thing, if you have it, right? So this is something that I would have you folks think about as you go out there again for your professional development, your careers, and if you're going to be starting a business, is who do you have in your life that will tell you that you're being stupid? And not being stupid from and European arrogance, you're stupid. But rather, you're stupid because what you're not thinking about is the labor cost. What you're not thinking about is the training cost. What you're not thinking about is all these other licensing costs. Yes, you save licensing fees on Windows 10, but then you have to pay licensing fees for VMware or something else, right? You need to find somebody that will push back on you, because the biggest problem that I see, especially in the tech world and the business world and all that kind of stuff now, is people are finding like their own yes man. Like we have these echo chambers anymore, where basically it's a bunch of yes people. They're basically weak, pathetic people that can't handle getting gut checked, that can't handle strong pushback. So what they do is they get into groups, and then they all agree that everybody else in the group is doing things absolutely wonderfully. Yes, you're so smart, and you're so smart, and you're so smart, and you're wonderful, and I'm wonderful, and everybody in this room is wonderful. We are so wonderful and smart. The problem is when you do that, then who is telling you what you're doing wrong? And here's a little secret. Like, a lot of people think I get snarky, and a lot of people think I get mean about things. They're like, well, Eli, why don't you talk about nice stuff more often? Again, as I always say, because nice stuff isn't interesting. Again, if it's working. You know what I'm saying? Like if I get onto a Swiss train, I'm not really going to say much about the Swiss train. Swiss trains are nice. Other than they're nice, there's not much to say about a Swiss train. You know why? Because they're nice. You get on to point A, you get off on point B, nothing else much to say about it. It's like, what the hell am I going to do? I'm going to sit here for an hour talking about, it was a pretty nice train, right? You know what's interesting to talk about? Like I say, all the problem, because when you have problems, then there are things to fix, then you're things to screw with, and there's things to think about and all that kind of stuff. And so if you're in a group, right? If you are in a group where everybody in the group is agreeing that you're smart and that you're wonderful and that you're doing everything right, then that is a group you probably don't want to be a part of. Because then nobody there is telling you what you're doing wrong, right? And if nobody's willing to tell you what you're doing wrong, how do you know what to improve on? Again, I get gut checked like every other day. Again, there's a misunderstanding from my viewers, where my viewers say, Eli, you don't listen to anybody because you don't listen to us. No, I don't listen to you because you're the viewers. There are a lot of people in my life I do listen to. And the people in my life that I do listen to, those are brutal fucking bastards, let me tell you. Oh my golly. You could tell them that you came up with a process for crapping gold, and they would rip apart your business plan. Well, yes, but really, Eli, how much can you poop per day? And how much fiber has to be in that poop? And okay, so let's say you poop so much per day, then you're going to have to look at and see, this is the reason why you pooping gold is actually going to end in bankruptcy. You're like, motherfucker, dude, I learned how to poop gold. Yeah, no, right? And so that's the thing, is I go out there and I find the people that are willing to push back, and I'm willing to listen to them, because even if I don't agree with what they say, even if I don't end up going along and with whatever plan or whatever alternative they have, by listening to this pushback, I can see where the problems are, or I can see where the problems may come up. Because the thing is, everything may be going right now. Everything may be going perfect now. Everything may be going wonderful now. But things can always happen. Brexits can always happen. Again, like I say, if you're a British startup, you really got to think about your view of the world right now. That kind of stuff can just pop up. And so if you have people pushing back on you, if you have people saying your position isn't as strong as you think it is, then you can start figuring things out. Then you can start thinking about things. Again, like I say, if let's say you're a British company or a British tech company, you know, how many of you have mentors, or how many of you have people that have pushed on you and have said, what happens if the British pound loses 30% of market value globally? What does that do to your company? And just thinking it through, right? So that when something happens, when something comes out of left field, again, I mean, you may still be screwed. Again, like I said, so much of business in life is a flip of the coin. But at least you can try to flip that coin into the right direction, right? And so that's something to be thinking about. Again, when you go to meetups, I tell everybody, go to meetups to meet people and to professionally network and all that kind of stuff. And I would argue the people that you need to have around you are the people that are successful. Again, that are successful, not kings of dog vomit. Again, it is true, and like I say, when I'm being snarky about the Europeans right now, I'm probably pissing off a whole bunch of Europeans. But what I want you to understand is so much of their snobbery is hollow. And again, I'm not saying that to be mean, I'm not saying that to be vicious, and I'm not saying that to be snarky. But does anybody really give a damn about Italy? And again, I'm being honest here. I'm being just plain, not even trying to be melodramatic right now. Does the world care about Italy? Does the world care about Spain? How many European countries does anybody care about outside of that country? And yet, again, they're acting like they're frickin' lords of the universe or whatever. And so that's what you have to be careful about, is you don't want to be around those type of people. You want to make sure that you find people that are successful, that know what's going on or whatever, and that they're able to push back on you. So again, you go out there and, like, if you're looking for people to push back on you, again, normally, you're not going to find like the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. If you're a little startup company, you're not going to find the CEO of a Fortune 500 company to push back on you, right? They've got more than enough crap to do. Whoever they mentor, you know, that's going to be a luck of the draw. What you do is you go out and you find people that are slightly more successful than you. So right, so if you're trying to create a startup company right now and you don't have any funding and you're building your MVP, then what you need to do is you need to go out and you need to socialize with people that got their first round of funding. Now again, they may only have $100,000 or they may only have $200,000 in funding, but they've actually gotten the funding, which means they're slightly above you. So then you go talk to them and you present your ideas and you see what they say. And they say, hey, look, you know, we got our $200,000 of funding and what you're doing seems to be in line with what we did, then you know you're doing things right. On the other hand, if you show them your slide deck or whatever, and they say, oh, this is incredibly horrible, they push back on you, then you know you can tweak things a little bit. And the other thing, too, is to realize a lot of times, again, you don't necessarily have to see eye to eye with a lot of things, and the concept of being at the same level can be really squishy. So, like, because if you're like, well, why would companies talk with me, or why would people talk with me? Remember, people have different levels of skills. So at first glance, somebody may seem really a lot higher than you, and in reality, in a lot of ways, they're lower than you. So again, let's talk about, like, if you're doing a startup company, and you meet somebody that's gotten their first round of funding. They've gotten their $500,000 in funding, or $1 million in funding. Like, oh, those people are so much higher than me. Well, here's the thing. That may be a startup founder that had $1 million in funding, but now has to figure out how to hire coders and actually get the product developed. Because there's a lot of people that actually get funding before they have any code written at all. So you look at them and go, wow, they've already got $1 million in funding. They're not going to talk to me. But here's the deal. You've already coded your minimum viable product. Not only have you coded your minimum viable product, you're already in alpha testing, getting feedback from people. You just don't have any money to take it any further. So this person looks like they're more significant than you because they got $1 million in funding, but they have no product, and they're still trying to figure out how to even get coders and figure it all out. You've actually got code, You're actually in alpha testing, getting back user feedback. So even though you have no money, as far as coding and as all that is concerned, you're their superior. So that's one way you can get pushed back too, is you can find people where unequal differences. So they have more money than you have more technical expertise. You go to them to figure out how to get more money. They push back on you saying why whatever it is you're doing is stupid. They then tell you how they're going to code their whatever, and you push back on them on why they're stupid. They're like, I'm going to create a voice over IP system using AWS. And you're like, isn't latency and the rest of that going to be god-awful? They're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, if you build dedicated servers, that will actually do you better. And these are the types of things to think about. But it's very, very, very important that you find people that are powerful enough and that are strong enough, again, that they can push back on you for real reasons. Again, if I'm creating, this is a real-world example, if I'm creating a real-time communication system, and I'm talking about putting this thing on AWS, and I'm talking to you and you're the technical professional, you need to push back and say, the last fucking thing in the world that I would do is build a real-time communication system on AWS. The latency and all that kind of stuff is just going to be horrible. Again, you're not telling them they're stupid for being on AWS, and not all, yeah, it's these are the reasons. Right? And again, like I say, if somebody was coming trying to figure out how to do money, you know, how to get fundraising, and then, you know, they were like, yeah, I'm thinking about going to this accelerator, and this accelerator is going to give me $25,000 and do whatever, and they want 10% of my company. What do you mean they want 10% of your company for $25,000? You know how stupid that is? Right? It's that push, it's that back and the forth. It's the counterbalance. And if you don't have the counterbalance, you're going to have a very bad time. Because again, as a business person, as a professional, what you don't think about is, again, we make decisions again and again and again and again. Like I say, if you're a factory worker, you make one fucking decision in your life. Do I want to work for Honda? And if you decide I want to work for Honda and you get hired by Honda, that was your one decision. That was your one decision until the day you retire, right? And again, no offense, but it really is. Like with so many jobs, it's you make one decision, you make two decisions. If you're lucky, you make one decision a day. As a professional, you're constantly making decisions. You're constantly making adjustments. You're constantly, I mean, the goals, everything can change day by day. And so you need to be able to talk with people, you need to be able to discuss things, and you need to have people that will tell you answers that you do not want to hear. And if you don't have that, you're going to run into a lot of problems. Again, that's where I say, like, I do these mentorship things, and I'll talk with people who say, how do I be successful with coding? And I'll be like, okay, well, explain to me what you do now. They're like, well, I sit in front of a computer and I stare at it for like 2 hours, and then I go play video games. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you sit down and you start coding, and you do 8 hours of coding, but you're not making enough money, well, then we can talk about, well, maybe you need to learn Python, or maybe you should learn C#, or maybe you should do something like this. Or if you're coding a lot, and you feel like you're doing it inefficiently, you're like, it doesn't seem like, you know, I have friends of mine that can create entire applications in 2 days, and it takes me like 3 weeks to like just create the interface. I don't understand what's going on. Well, maybe you need to use frameworks, or maybe you need to purchase templates or something like that. Whereas if you're like, I just stare in front of the computer and I hate it. I hate computers. I hate code. Fuck code. Then it's like, then don't code, do something. No, but I want to be a programmer. No, you don't. You know, and I get this with a lot of people. No, you don't understand. I really want to be a programmer. It's like, yeah, but you don't want to program. Yeah. I don't want to be a programmer. Am I the poor bastard that has to tell you this? But a lot of people need to hear that kind of thing. So that's the thing to think about with the counterbalance. Basically, you should be able to go to people, and they should be able to push back. And you should know that they will push back if they think something is stupid. And basically, when you go to them, if they tell you that what you're doing is stupid, they should be able to explain to you why. Again, total cost of ownership versus licensing cost. And also, if they tell you you're doing something good, they should be able to explain to you why. And always make sure, like I say, if you go to a mentor or whoever you use for a counterbalance, always make sure to ask them why they think what you're doing is a good idea. Because again, you don't want people just to do a yes man thing simply because they're tired that day or they're bored or whatever. Ask them why. So it's like, you know, listen, this is what I plan to do. It's like, yeah, this is a good idea. I just want to make sure. So why do you think it's a good idea? Oh, let me tell you why it's a good... That's easy. I can tell you why it's a good idea. Because I've had 5 people who have done that. They did it. They improved their productivity 300%. Absolutely no problem. Everybody that's done the plan that you're planning to do that I know, it's gone perfectly well. Right? So, there's a thought to think about. Because that's what's been going on in my head lately. Again, like I say, and again, I know some Europeans are going to be pissed off right now with my comments about Europe. But it really, like I say, for me as an American, I was so looking forward to the Euro being a counterbalance to us. And I know a lot of Americans my generation that feel, you know, it feels like the United States kind of walked bass-ackwards into being a superpower. Like, if you ask Americans, I don't think very many Americans at all are comfortable with the concept of we are the last superpower. Like at all. It's not like something we're proud of being American. It's like weird. It's weird to explain this to foreigners. Like, we are proud to be Americans. And like, as Americans, we believe we're in the best country in the world. But this is where like foreigners get confused. But we think we're the best country in the world because we figure that French people would think that France is the best country in the world, and that Germany would think that Germans would think that Germany is the best country in the world, and that Russians would think that Russia is the best. It's kind of like, you know, it's supposed to be that competitive thing, like we are the best team. And we feel like we can say we're the best team because we figure every other team also thinks that they're the best team, and then we're gonna come and do some kind of football match or soccer match or whatever to figure out who's really best, right? And so I think that strikes a lot of other people strangely, because we really are. We are nationalistic to hell and back, and like everybody is here. Like, again, I think that's what like a lot of other countries don't realize. Like, everybody is. Like, you go talk with African Americans in the ghetto, in the hood, where really bad crap happens. And again, they may fucking hate the police. They may fucking hate the police. They may fucking hate the politicians. They may fucking hate Whitey. But they're Americans. They're Americans. Right? Like, there is... Again, like I say, it's really hard to explain this to other cultures. Where, like, if you're born in the United States, you are an American, right? And I was hoping for the Europeans, they would kind of come that way. We are European! Instead, they're doing whatever the hell Europeans are doing. Anyways, I should probably stop talking about Europe. It's so frustrating. It's just so, like... And that's the hard part, like I say, because Europeans are like, I can't believe what you're talking about. But it's like, but we wanted you to be strong. What? I don't know any American that wants to see Europe fail. I mean, like, it feels like in America, you just look at that, you're just like, what? What's wrong with them? What the hell's wrong with them? And not only are they doing that, but then they're acting superior on top of it. Oh, yeah, so how are you superior? Oh, anyway, so I just lost all my European viewers. Well, it's funny, like I say, the last video I got these comments. Oh, I wouldn't expect you, Eli, to be an American X, Y, or Z. I was like, yeah, you know, that was cute. A week ago, you could pull that off. A week ago, you could be like, I wouldn't expect Eli to be a stupid American. And now it's just like, nah, stop. Don't care. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Deal with your dog vomit. Your dog is vomiting all over that side of the world. Deal with your own dog vomit before you start talking about how inferior we are. Anyways, very sad about Europe. But what are you gonna do? Brexit. I don't know. Anybody want to put bets on World War III? I put bets on World War III. Like I say, because you got all the immigrants coming in. Again, you got to think about it. You got like 1 million, at least. And that's the thing. Like, can you imagine with Europe, right? So Britain leaves, UK leaves, and then you got all the issues with Greece going on, and then you got Russia thumping on the side, and then like, you know, they're what did they already had, like 1 million refugees or whatever come in? Like, what if the refugees just flooded Europe? It is an interesting concept to think about. Like everybody laughs at Trump for some reason, and admittedly, he's got really weird hair. And he looks a bit like Angry Orange sometimes. But he does say some interesting concept. Like this whole idea of invasion through migration. And again, you really do have to think about it. Like with Europe. And all the mess that's going on. They can't secure their borders. They can't figure out what's going on between. Like, what if you just had millions upon millions of migrants come in? Refugees come in. All right, just think about this for a sec. Again, logical thought here. Let's logically play some things through. So you have a horrible, nasty war going on. You have a whole area of the world that's just truly fucked. Just really, really bad. So people leave that area of the world because you can't survive. Right? You gotta try to go somewhere. So all those people then pile into Europe. And they've been told they will be welcomed by a certain German Prime Minister, Angela Merkel. And then what happens if so many people from a section of the world come in, but there's not enough resources and there's not enough support to actually be able to support them? And so they start falling through the cracks. Lots of them fall through the cracks, and even more of them fall through the cracks. You start having lots of problems. And then you have the xenophobic people, you know, the skinhead type folks, because you got those everywhere, and they start beating on some of these migrants, refugees. And then you got to think, well, these refugees came from some really nasty places where some really bad shit was happening. And here's the thing, even if they don't want to continue the bad shit, even if they have zero interest in continuing the bad shit, you got to figure some of the people that come there are qualified in the less refined professions. And so then they're sitting there, and they're thinking how to feed their kids, and they're figuring how to feed your family, and their wives, and all that kind of stuff. And you got lots and lots of people now in Europe right? It is an interesting thought process. Not a nice thought process, not a good thought process, but it is an interesting. Could you actually invade a country through refugees? It's a curious thing. And then what do you do afterwards? I don't know. I'm here in the U.S. Oh, sigh. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Do you think I was going to come out with a plan? Was there going to be some nice, wonderful moral to that story? Oh, well. Oh, well. What are we going to do? Learn Chinese. Learn Chinese. China will be our counterbalance. China will be our counterbalance. Anyways, tomorrow we'll talk about hitting the coffee mark. Making $300 per month off of Fail Normal. Yay! We'll talk about happy things. I just figured I'd do these two videos, like I say, talking about how the world changes and Brexit. Like I say, I think Brexit's going to be massively significant. I think that it's going to be like a shifting event. I really do. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. I think that's going to be a big thing. And again, like I say, that's where you have to think about with your life. Is what happens when you have a shifting event like that. I mean, like, do you have enough professional skills that if your entire world gets turned upside down, that once you sort it out, you can do something, right? So again, I've done all this martial arts, I've done all this hand-to-hand training and all that kind of stuff. And that was one of the things, like, one of the things in one of the programs I went through was was basically disorienting you first before you got into the fight, right? And so that was the thing. Like I went into the scenario, and the idea was you close your eyes. Like I went into the scenario, right? So the idea is you close your eyes, and then they tell you to open your eyes, and then you're supposed to immediately assess the situation, and then go on the defense, go on the attack, do whatever to bring down the attacker. And with my training and my skill set and all that, the instructor decided to fuck with me. And so basically with everybody else, they opened their eyes. Sometimes somebody was in front of them with a knife, or sometimes, you know, whatever. There was a scenario. Well, these bastards, what they did is they told me to, okay, open your eyes or whatever. I open my eyes. The first fucking thing I see is the instructor shoving me backwards. The back of my knees then hit the person that is on all fours behind me as I flip over them. And then, as I hit the ground, I have to roll out of it and then be able to deal with the situation. And I think that's what I would argue is what you should be thinking about as a professional. Like if you think about it from the fighting scenario, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, there's a difference between sparring and combat, sparring and fighting. And the thing is, are you good enough that if you put your hands up and they put their hands up, you can do the fisticuffs, right? And that's one level. The other level is, can you respond to a situation that just comes out of nowhere? Can you get knocked backwards over a person, be able to keep enough of a presence of mind to be able to roll out of it, then when your feet are on the ground, then be able to assess the situation and go? Can you literally have your career turned upside down and be able to get yourself stabilized and then figure out the path to go ahead? You flip over, and that's the thing like with the situation is, do you escape from the situation? Do you attack the situation? Are there principles? Are there other people in the situation? And so that's what I would have you folks think about, like I say, with all this kind of stuff, is if the value of your currency dropped by half tomorrow, could you be able to deal with it? If you had a bunch of people, whether they're refugees or migrants or whatever else, come in, or technology, and basically drop the value of your job by half, could you deal with that? If your job, for whatever reason, became obsolete or untenable for some reason, could you deal with that? And I would argue, as a professional, you should be able to do that. Again, as a professional, as Eli the computer guy, as a professional, I can fix stuff and install technical stuff. I can train people. I can manage people. I can lead people, do like a CIO position or whatever. I could build a startup company, right? If something happened to YouTube, if something happened to what I'm doing now, it would take me a minute, a month or a year, a minute, to get my feet under me. But then once it is, I would be able to figure out a plan of attack. And if you're able to do that, then you're pretty solid in life. Then you're probably going to be pretty good. If you can't do that, then you're going to be screwed. Like if you're working on a help desk, and the only thing that you can do is that help desk, then you've got to be thinking about how can you go out and figure out how to get other skills. And again, that's where you go with nonprofit organizations. So if you're working on a help desk right now, you're working on a really crappy help desk, then go to your local nonprofits and figure out, is there something you can do, especially, like I say, teach. Again, if you're in a country with a lot of migrants, can you teach ESL? Right? Again, if you have a lot of migrants coming in, and they're going to take all your jobs for half the price, then hey, maybe I should meet these migrants, figure them out, teach them something, like English as a second language. And who knows, or German as a second language, or whatever the hell your thing is. And who knows, you might end up making 2 or 3 or 4 times as much teaching these people coming in, they're going to take the job that you had. Right? So if you're on a help desk and worried like, oh no, these people are going to take my job, well maybe if you go and you volunteer, and then you learn how to teach these folks, whatever it is, language or skill sets or whatever, you might end up actually making more money than you were before doing that, and be able to hop off before they take your crappy job. These are things to be thinking about. But anyways, that's the thought for the day. I wonder if I still have any European viewers. Other European viewers are, how dare you call us dog vomit? How can you not? How can you not? How can people still? Anyways. Again, we'll get on the happier topic. I'm just so surprised with Brexit. I just can't tell you, like, oh, it's like, really? How did that happen? That really happened? How? But anyways, with that, we'll call it a day. Tomorrow, we're on the road again. On the road again. We'll be heading back to the Baltimore area for about 2 weeks. And then we'll be heading off for 2 months up into the New York area. So really finding, like, you should stay a place a minimum of a week, really about 2. So we're thinking is going up to, like, the Adirondack area and spending, like, 2 weeks in a lot of different places. The Adirondacks is huge. That's another beautiful place. If you've never been up to the Adirondacks, that's just a wonderful area of the world. So we're thinking about going up there, you know, spending 2 weeks here, and 2 weeks there, 2 weeks there, 2 weeks somewhere else. Spend about 2 months there. So I'll let you folks know more about that as we're planning it. With that, we're going to call it a day. I really wish I could have a beer. Like, just watching the Brexit. Just watching it. Like I say, just seeing the pound. $1.32 to the pound. So, oh, I want to drink a beer right now. I want to drink a good British beer. I want to drink some good Strongbow. Oh, I know it's considered a pansy drink over there. It's what girls and old people drink. But I did like my cider. Oh, when I was over there, he was like, yeah, shut up. I don't care if the girls drink it. I like my cider. Oh, I got so drunk on cider. I learned a real love of cider when I was in the UK. The worst part was, that's the thing, like, you go over to Europe and the UK and all that, their alcohol is so cheap over there. And it's so, like here in the US, like, alcohol, like, there's a bit of, like, a prestige to alcohol. There's a bit of, like, whatever. Man, I went over there and there was like, when I was drinking the cider, I remember I got, like, this 3-gallon plastic bottle of, like, White Lightning or something. And it really was, like, when I say a plastic bottle, it was, like, literally the same type of 2-liter bottle or 3-liter bottle or whatever it was that we'd have Coca-Cola or Sprite in. But you could buy that full of alcoholic cider. I feel like a kid again. Anyways. We'll see what happens. Anyways, with that, we'll call it a day. And again, any Europeans over there that get pissed at me right now, yeah, come on. Now you know how it feels. And 2, we will be off the subject tomorrow. I just want to talk about it a little bit. Because again, like I say, as an American, again, whatever you guys do, girls do, Z's do, it's just like, as an American, I'm just watching that and I'm just like, oh, why? Who knows? Why ask why? Drink White Lightning.